empty. The world felt utterly empty. Each day stretched, a desolate wasteland since Elias was gone. His absence resonated, a constant ache in my chest. I yearned for his voice, his touch, his laughter. But death, a cruel thief, had stolen him, leaving behind an unbearable silence. Driven by despair, I sought solace in ancient lore. Legends whispered of a forgotten forest, a place where the veil between life and death thinned, a place where, with a grieving heart and a desperate plea, one might speak to the departed. Hope, fragile yet tenacious, bloomed in my chest. I packed my bag, the weight of my grief heavy within it. I ventured into the unknown, seeking the solace that eluded me, the solace only Elias could provide. The forest awaited, shrouded in mist and mystery, a silent invitation to a realm beyond the ordinary. The air grew heavy, laden with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves as I stepped into the forest. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting long, eerie shadows that danced around me. A shiver ran down my spine, a primal fear of the unknown gripping my heart. The deeper I ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. Trees, gnarled and ancient, twisted towards the sky like skeletal fingers reaching for a heaven they could no longer touch. Their branches, heavy with moss, swayed rhythmically, whispering secrets to the wind. Or were they whispers? I pressed on, my fear mingled with a strange sense of anticipation. The silence of the forest was unnerving, broken only by the rustle of leaves beneath my feet and the occasional snap of a twig. It felt as though the forest itself watched me, its unseen eyes following my every move. After what felt like an eternity, the trees thinned, revealing a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood a crumbling stone temple, its once grand facade overrun with vines. It was a place forgotten by time, yet radiating a strange energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. This was it. The legends were true. I could feel it in my bones, in the very air I breathed. This was the place where the veil thinned, where I could reach out to Elias. Hope surged through me, chasing away the shadows of doubt that lingered at the edge of my mind. As I approached the temple, the whispers grew stronger, swirling around me like disembodied voices. I couldn't decipher their words, but their tone was mournful, filled with a profound sadness that resonated with my own. The temple's entrance was a gaping maw swallowed by darkness. Hesitation tugged at me, a flicker of doubt in the face of the unknown. What if the legends were wrong? What if my quest was futile? I pushed the fear down, clinging to the hope that had sustained me on my journey. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the temple, the darkness closing around me like a shroud. The air inside was cold and stale, heavy with the weight of centuries. A faint light emanated from the far end of a long, narrow corridor. With each step, the whispers intensified, their mournful cries echoing off the stone walls. My heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat of fear and anticipation. Section 5. A Cold Embrace. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, its high ceiling lost in shadow. The faint light I had followed emanated from a single flickering torch, casting long, dancing shadows across the floor. In the center of the chamber stood a stone altar, its surface worn smooth by time and countless touches. As I approached the altar, a cold wind swept through the chamber, extinguishing the torch and plunging me into absolute darkness. Panic surged through me, clawing at my throat. I was alone, lost in the heart of the temple, surrounded by unseen whispers. And then, I felt it. A cold hand brushed against mine, sending shivers down my spine. A voice, barely audible, whispered my name, its tone filled with a longing that mirrored my own. "Elias?" I choked out, my voice trembling with a mixture of hope and terror. Section 6. Echoes of the Past. The cold hand tightened its grip on mine, pulling me closer to the unseen presence. The whispers intensified, swirling around me, their mournful cries replaced by a chorus of voices. I strained to make sense of their words, to grasp at the fragments of conversation swirling around me. Then, a voice, clear and familiar, cut through the cacophony. "Help me!" it pleaded, the anguish in its tone unmistakable. It was Elias, his voice filled with a despair I had never heard before. Relief washed over me, followed by a surge of love so intense it brought tears to my eyes. "I'm here, Elias," I cried, reaching out to the darkness, desperate to touch him, to hold him, to tell him how much I missed him. "I'm here." Section 7. The Unveiling. The whispers reached a fever pitch, their voices morphing into a deafening roar that seemed to shake the very foundation of the temple. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy that crackled around me. And then, as suddenly as it began, the noise ceased. A cold light, emanating from the altar, illuminated the chamber, revealing the horrifying truth. Standing before me, his hand still clasped tightly in mine, was Elias. But it wasn't the Elias I knew and loved. His eyes, once warm and full of life, were now vacant, two black pits staring into nothingness. His skin, once tanned and healthy, was now deathly pale, stretched taut over his bones. He was a spectre, a twisted mockery of the man I loved. Section 8. The Lingering Dread. "You shouldn't have come," Elias rasped, his voice a hollow echo of its former self. "This place, it doesn't let go." His grip tightened on my hand, his icy touch sending a chill that penetrated to my very core. Horror washed over me, icy and paralyzing. This wasn't the reunion I had yearned for. This was a nightmare. "Elias, what happened?" I whispered, my voice trembling with fear. His lips curled into a grotesque parody of a smile, revealing teeth that had lengthened into sharp fangs. "She happened," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "She promised me life, but she only delivered this." His gaze drifted to our intertwined hands, his touch growing colder, more insistent. Panic surged through me, a primal scream rising in my throat. I had come to this forgotten forest seeking solace, seeking closure, but I had found something far more sinister, a truth more terrifying than anything I could have imagined. And as Elias pulled me closer, his grip like a vice, I knew, with chilling certainty, that I would never escape the whispers of the forgotten forest.